This is the Louie T Network.
Man, I love some football. Man, I love some football. My favorite week is week 1, cause I'm watching football. First comes the preseason, and I don't take a day off. And then it gets even better when your team makes the playoffs. 32 teams go hard for one thing. They work for one thing. That Super Bowl ring. 32 teams go hard for one thing. They work for one thing. That Super Bowl ring. We in the lab room.
Man, Louie T, welcome. You are in the lab room. Of course, I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. Week number 7 in the National Football League. Friday edition of In the Lab Room. You know it's a jam-packed show on Friday. We got to touch on that Thursday night showcase, and what a beauty it was. We got Pick'em Weekly for week number 7 on the horizon. But first, Thursday night football. Let's cue up the Thursday night showcase. Patriots at home looking to handle a little bit of AFC East family business versus the New York Jets. I thought it was going to be a blowout. I thought this was going to be a comfortable victory for the Patriots. But and I made this my Week 7 sole survivor pick. This is exactly why I caution you against getting in family business. This is why it's one of the no-nos, because you never know. All bets are off. You never know what's about to happen when it's two family members, man. They know each other like the back of their hands. And so anything and everything can happen in these type of ball games. And last night, that's exactly what happened. It was funny because I broke the game down on the Thursday edition of In the Lab Room. And just about everything that I said the Jets needed to do in order to have a chance to win this game, they went out and executed in this game. And that's why they had a chance at the very end to steal one in Foxborough. Let's talk about this beautiful game that we got on Thursday night. 2 in a row. Hey, let's keep it going. 2 wire-to-wire finishes. Let's talk about it. Pats make quick work of their opening possession. 2 B-fail grabs to start it off. And then wide open is Shane Vereen in a busted coverage by the Jets. Now, this was not a great throw by Tom Brady. Don't mistake yourself thinking that this was a great throw, because 85% of the running backs in this league do not make this catch. Shane Vereen had to stretch out and dive for this attempt. However, he's got some of the best hands of any running back in this league out of the backfield, and he showcased them on this play as he's able to reel in this, I want to call it an overthrow by Tom Brady. Again, sometimes the hardest throws to make are the ones where guys are wide open, and Tom was on the move in his defense, and that's not his strong suit, him throwing the football on the run. But it got there, and Vereen was able to make it count as he stretches out, dives, catches it, gets in the end zone from 49 yards out. It's a touchdown. It's 7-0, just like that. I said, man, that's a very bad start to the game if you're the New York Jets. I mean, didn't get much worse than that. I mean, that was as easy as it could get on the opening drive for the Patriots, other than a one-play touchdown. And so, you know, of course, you got to go back to the sideline and figure out what happened. Busted coverage. Someone definitely neglected their responsibility on that play. It's 7-0. Patriots up in this football game. Jets respond, however, with an 11-play, 73-yard drive, including a third down completion from Geno to Jeff Cumberland. Nice catch and run after the completion. And it was great by Geno on the play to slide away from a little bit of the pressure and reset his feet and throw a dart to Jeff Cumberland. And this was on a third down Nice completion. He runs after the catch. Huge gain for the Jets. Then they even try a little bit of a wildcat with Chris Johnson. And this is what the Jets were supposed to look like. This game to me is a microcosm of what the Jets were supposed to look like all season long. Because if the Jets, I'll say this and then we'll move on. If the Jets can give this type of effort and play this kind of mistake-free football and employ this kind of game plan over the life of the season, this is an 8, 9, possibly 10-win team. I mean, what they did in this game is good enough to beat 80% of the league, because 80% of the league isn't better than the Patriots. So you've got to know that there were a couple of games on the schedule already that they've already played that they could have easily have won had they just done what they did in this game. And it seems like the Patriots seem to bring the best out of the Jets each and every single time they play one another. So then you have a 3rd and 1. Chris Ivory breaks off a 15-yard run, getting to the outside, breaking a few tackles and making some things happen. Then you even have a Geno Smith touchdown to Jeremy Curley that's called back because of a holding penalty on Ode Abuche, who was making his first start for this Jets team with Winters being out for the season at guard. So this drive for the Jets just about had everything you could imagine. And still, they had to settle for a field goal. After that holding penalty, they ended up having to kick a field goal. It's 7-3, Patriots up, but the Jets look game. They look game right now. We'll see. Again, you know the mantra, you know the motto, field goals don't win games, touchdowns do. So if you're the Jets, you're a little upset. You're lamenting the fact that you had a touchdown and now you have to settle for a field goal because of the penalty. After a Pats 3 and out, the Jets with another impressive, balanced drive. But, yet again, a holding penalty inside the red zone of the Patriots stalls the drive. This time, it's on Willie Colon, so both guards costing the Jets huge opportunities to get in the end zone. They have to settle for another field goal. It's 7-6. Jets still down in this game, but again, they're moving the football very efficiently. And the thing that I talked about in the preview for this game on Thursday was simply that the Jets needed to run the football. This is a run-first football team, and they ran the football. And even Geno Smith chipped in. I think I talked about him not turning the football over. He couldn't afford to make the mistake. Not even one. He couldn't afford to make that mistake in this game. And Geno Smith would not make the mistake. Every time he didn't like what he saw, usually, even if he didn't like what he sees, he said, I'm going to force it in there anyway. Hopefully my guy can make a play for me. He didn't do that in this game. He took the football and he said, hey, I don't like what I see. I'm going to use my wheels, man. I'm going to get myself out of trouble here. I'm going to pick up 5 yards. And I even talked about if it's 3rd and 9, throwing underneath the sticks and hoping that your guy can make a play for you. He even did that too. There was a situation in the game, 3rd and 7. He threw a 5-yard pass. His guy was able to break a tackle and get 8 yards. That's what you got to do sometimes. Have faith in your guys to be playmakers and make plays for you. And so Geno Smith played the type of game that was going to lend itself to giving the Jets a legitimate shot at winning the football game. And you could see this early on. I still was waiting for that one mistake, that one Geno. Oh, Geno. Oh, no. I was still waiting for that one oh no moment from Geno. It never came. It never came. And that's a testament to Geno Smith starting to mature. It's so frustrating because you watch Geno Smith, and earlier in the season, even though he would throw an interception, you'd like, man, Geno's maturing. He's getting better. He's making smarter decisions with the football. And then he somewhere along the way, I don't know, game 3 or 4, somewhere in there, the confidence just went kaput. And I think it was that Monday night game versus the Bears where he throws an interception, literally the first play of the game for a touchdown, a pick 6. And I think from that point on, his confidence was somewhat shaken. And it seemed like he got a little bit of that back in this football game, however. And so it's 7-6 as we head to the second quarter. The Jets, for the 3rd consecutive drive, have a trip into Patriots territory, and it leads to another field goal. They now take the lead with their 3rd field goal of the game, 9-7. And again, I said it before, I'll say it again. Field goals don't win games. Touchdowns do. Jets have outscored the Patriots in this game 3-1, except the Patriots have a touchdown and the Jets have 3 field goals. So even though the Jets have somewhat dominated this game, they haven't dominated the one place that it matters the most, and that's the scoreboard. They still need to find a way to hit pay dirt, get in the end zone. These field goals are nice, but they're going to end up being the death of you in this game if you don't find a way to get in the end zone. And this is what the Patriots had to say about another field goal from the Jets. They answered that score from the Jets with a touchdown, which was capped by a 5-yard Shane Vereen touchdown grab on a 3rd down. And it was funny because the Jets decided to rush 2 and drop 9 on this particular play. And Brady still was able to find an avenue to get the football to one of his guys. Shane Vereen ran a simple option route where he stuck his foot in the ground, ran an out route. There were a couple of Jet defenders. He kind of sat down. Brady threw it behind him so he wouldn't lead him into a hit. And he was able to catch it, sit down, fall into the end zone. It's 14-9. Just like that, Patriots, who have only scored twice in this game, Jets, meanwhile, have scored 3 times, they lead 14-9 because they've gotten in the end zone twice and the Jets have kicked 3 field goals. Again, field goals don't win games, touchdowns do. Kick field goals and you'll find yourself on the short end of the stick at the end of the football game if you're not careful. So now it's 14-9, Pats back on top. Ensuing kickoff, Walt Powell busts loose for a 62-yard return to the Patriots' 41-yard line. The Jets are in business once again. They move down the field, but again, have to settle for another field goal. It's now 12-14. Jets inch closer, but again, too many field goals, too many opportunities to get touchdowns, and they're settling for field goals. That's usually a bad omen in a football game like this. And of course, you know, the Patriots can score points, so you always want to take full advantage of opportunities you get to try to get in the end zone against a team that can rev it up and put points on the board like the New England Patriots. Antonio Allen has a 32-yard pass interference penalty on a 3rd and long, which sets up a field goal attempt for the Patriots as a personal foul on Devy pushed them back. They looked like they were going for another touchdown. And then Devy has a foolish personal foul penalty. Antoine Barnes gets pressure on Brady. At the end of the play, he pushes Brady on the ground. I didn't see anything wrong with it. I didn't think it was anything wrong with him getting there, heavy pursuit of Brady, and putting his hands on him. If the officials don't throw a flag, then you shouldn't be upset. And he took offense to him pushing Brady down. He comes over late as ever. I mean, he couldn't have been any later than he showed up. And it was just blatant. He chucks him. Was it egregious? No, but was it unnecessary? You betcha, and he got a flag for it. Patriots end up having to settle for a field goal. It's 17-12. That's our halftime score. So even though the Jets have somewhat dominated this football game, you could argue they haven't punted in the game to this point. They have not had to punt. They've been lights out on 3rd downs. They run the football down the throats of the Patriots. I don't know if that was a byproduct of them missing Gerard Mayo or not, but they were getting gashed in the run game. And even Geno Smith, like I said, was chipping in, using his wheels, and picking up yardage. They were doing what they wanted to do offensively with the Jets. But the only thing they couldn't do was get in the end zone, and it was hurting them to this point. They're down 17-12 in this football game. We go to the 3rd quarter. Jets down 17-12 in this football game, and they put together a masterful 11-play, 80-yard drive in which the Jets ran the football 7 times for 41 yards, including a 1-yard Chris Ivory touchdown plunge that gave them the lead at 19-17. The Jets, you could see with every possession on the offensive side of the football, were gaining confidence. Keep in mind, the Patriots did not force a punt from this Jets football team until the late stages of the 3rd quarter. The Jets were moving the football at will. Their only issue in this game is that they could not find the end zone. Finally, they were able to get into the end zone this time, and now they take the lead, this Jets team. And this was the point in the game where I realized this Jets team is not going away tonight. In fact, if the Patriots aren't careful, the Jets will help themselves to a W in Foxborough. They've got to start finding ways to get this Jets offense off the field on 3rd downs. The Patriots had been struggling up until this point in doing that in this game, and they were getting gashed. And I don't know if the running game was working so well because of the absence of Gerard Mayo. I don't know what it was. They need to fix it because the Jets had over 200 yards rushing in this football game. And that was the blueprint I talked about on the preview for this game. The Jets needed to get back to rushing the football. They won in week 1 against the Raiders when they rushed for over 200 yards. It looked like they were employing the same game plan in this game, and it was working to a T early on in this football game. Pats are able to move the football down the field. Can't get in the end zone this time. Have to settle for a field goal. It's 20-19. Pats reassume the lead in this game, and that takes us to the fourth quarter. After Geno Smith goes down for a play, looks like a hyperextension of his knee, and he was able to come back in after one play. The Jets have to stop this Michael Vick running the football thing. I mean, they've reduced him to next to nothing at the quarterback position, and it's shameful to watch. I would have much rather Michael Vick went to the Bills in the offseason, and that's really where I wanted him to go, to be truthful. I would have much rather have seen him go to the Bills. If this was the plan for him all along when he signed there, to have him be a gadgety quarterback that comes in and is running the football, they did a play with him on that same possession where Geno comes in, they run an option to Michael Vick, and he's looking to pass, and he gets plastered by Chandler Jones on the play. They got to stop with these gadgety plays. If you're not going to use Michael Vick as a quarterback, this guy isn't 24 years old anymore. He can't go out there and be running around getting his head taken off like he's a running back. This guy's in his 30s. He's had multiple concussions. Stop trying him out there like he's a running back. I hate to see him in the twilight years of his career being used this way. I don't like it at all. And if I'm Michael Vick, I feel some type of way about the way the Jets are using him. But nonetheless, they end up having a punt, and they were pinned deep in their own territory with the Jets. Ryan Quigley shanks one, gives the Patriots the football in Jets territory to start the possession off at the Jets 46-yard line. And this prompts Brady to hit Edelman and Gronk and get the football all the way down to the 2-yard line. And Julian Edelman, up until that catch, was on a third down, was struggling. He had 2 huge drops prior to that catch on third down. And then Gronk gets a huge one down to the 2-yard line, and it looks like the Patriots are about to get in the end zone. And just when you thought, okay, yeah, they're about to get in, they had 2 straight penalties, one on Tim Wright for a false start, the other on Brandon LaFell on a wide receiver screen, or it was almost like a pick route. This one could have been a no call, but I could easily see why they threw the flag. They called him for OPI, offensive pass interference. So they moved them all the way back to the 9. They end up at the 19-yard line to the Patriots, 3rd and goal from the 19. And it looked like they were going to have to settle for a field goal at this point. And then Brady scrambles out of the pocket to his left. And again, this is rare. Tom Brady doesn't do this often, throwing on the run. But he makes a pretty good throw to the forgotten man in this offense. We talk about all these weapons that Brady has, but we quickly gloss over Danny Amendola because he doesn't do anything anymore. It's almost as if his role in this offense has been diminished greatly to the point where he's not even a factor anymore. You don't even talk about Danny Amendola, and for good reason. I mean, he didn't have a touchdown to his name on the season, and I believe he only had 4 catches coming into the game, so they don't target Danny Amendola that often. But on this particular play, he came up huge with a pass that was slightly behind him, was able to reach behind him, pluck it out of the air, and fall into the end zone for a 19-yard touchdown. That was a big play in the game because if they had to settle for a field goal there, as you see, the ending of this game was so wacky that they probably lose this game if they don't get a touchdown on this very possession. So this was huge for the Patriots. Tack on the extra point. Now they're up 27-19, so it's an 8-point game. Patriots and at this point now I was thinking, okay, now it's time for Geno to make that monumental mistake. That one boneheaded mistake, whether it's being loose with the football in the pocket or being loose with the football while he's running or making a bad decision, a bad throw and having it picked off, and that would be the game clincher. I was waiting. Again, it never came in this football game. Geno with a outstanding 12-play, 86-yard drive. I mean, ending it with a 10-yard strike. Now, when I say it's a strike, it was a dart to Jeff Cumberland going across the formation. You could see that Geno was dialed in. And again, his pocket presence on this possession was great. I mean, he was sliding. He was stepping up. I mean, if it wasn't there, he was tucking it and running. There was one play I was concerned. I thought he was going to fumble. He had rolled out. It was a bootleg for him to get outside the pocket and set up and try to throw back across the field. It wasn't there. And again, this is him showing maturation. He didn't force it. He could have easily threw it up for grabs, which is what Geno Smith usually does in a situation like this. Hey, they give me an opportunity to take a shot. I'm going to take it. He said, no, I'm turning it down. I'm going to use my wheels to get what I can get on this play and extend this possession. And so he's running. He has no idea Rob Ninkovich is behind him, bearing down on him. But because he was faster than Ninkovich had to dive at his legs. If Ninkovich ever got an opportunity to come down with a claw on his arm, if he comes down with the tomahawk, that ball is coming out because Geno Smith has no idea he's behind him. So I thought that was the play right there, but it didn't happen. And so the Jets end up going down the field. Geno was, like I said, sharp, razor sharp on the possession, gets in the end zone. Now they got to go for two. They try almost like a pick fade play to Jason Morrow. It doesn't work. Geno overthrows him. A good throw might even fit in, but it wasn't a good throw. Overthrow. It's 27-25. Pats clinging to a 2-point lead. The Jets, and I always talk about having all your timeouts in the second half. You can waste the timeouts in the first half all you want. I don't care what you do with your timeouts in the first half of the game. In the second half, it is paramount that you secure your timeouts. You don't waste them. Jets had already used 2 of their timeouts, so we're going into the latter stages of the game. They only got 1 timeout. And in a game where you're down 2 and you need the football one more time, it would have been nice to have a full complement of timeouts. Because they only had 1 timeout and we're nearing the 2-minute warning, the Jets decided to kick an onside kick. Did I agree with that? I hate when teams kick an onside kick prematurely because the way that I see it, if you're going to get a stop, because I understand the premise of giving yourself 2 chances to get the football. You don't recover the onside kick, you can still get it back by forcing a punt. I understand 2 chances is better than 1, but I'm thinking about it from a field position standpoint. If you kick it off deep, and say the team gets it back to the 23-yard line, you're able to force a punt, 3 and out, and they have to punt the football and they run off all the time that they can. Even if you get the football back with 47 seconds, it will be 47 seconds with you having the football at your own 40 or your own 39 or your own 42 versus you kicking the onside kick and them running off the time still because you only have 1 timeout and then them punting you the football and you ending up starting at your own 8. I just don't like the odds there. I'd much rather, because the odds of recovering an onside kick in this league are so low. I mean, the statistics say that you're much better off kicking it deep, playing defense, and getting the football back with no timeouts and limited resources, but shorter field to have to work with. And so that's just me. But I understand why teams do what they do. You get 2 chances versus 1, but I'm not a huge fan of that. So they kick the onside kick. They don't get it. They had a chance. They don't get it, though. And so the Patriots run down to the 2-minute warning. The Jets use their timeout, and then they are able to run it one more time. And it's funny. Isn't it ironic? My what-if scenario actually came to fruition in this football game. I used the what-if yesterday for those of you who didn't watch. I talked about what if you're in a situation where it's, 3rd and 5. You got the football. You're up 3. I gave the scenario of 3. In this case, it was 2, so that's even worse because a field goal beats you. At least in the scenario I gave you, a field goal only ties you. This was even worse. So you got the football, and the Jets have been moving the football all night long. So my thought process was, I don't want to put my defense back on the field. I need to get this first down, and I got Tom Brady back here. I need to get this first down and end this football game. Because the way that I saw it, the Jets either way were going to get the football back with a substantial amount of time left on the clock because they used their timeout, then the 2-minute warning happened, and then the Patriots had 1 opportunity to waste about 40 seconds off the clock. Jets are still going to get the football with every bit of a minute left in this football game. So the way I saw it, that's plenty of time for them to go down the field and get a field goal. So my thinking was, hey, go for the gusto. You got Tom Brady. You got a future Hall of Famer at the quarterback position. Win the football game right here. Don't give it back to the Jets. They've moved the football on you all night long. And unfortunately, they decided to go the very conservative route. They ran the football, ate up the clock, punt the football. And the Jets got it back with around 40-something seconds left. And they hit a couple of checkdowns. And I'm like, man, it's not going to be enough time. I mean, they got it right around a minute left or so. And they checked it down twice, and it was both in bounds. And I'm like, this isn't the way to go about it. They'll give you these checkdowns all game. If you want these checkdowns, the Patriots will happily accept you taking them, then make the tackle, and you can't stop the clock. And then they hit one play to David Nelson on the sidelines. He's able to corral it, get out of bounds. And that was to me, that was the turning point of this possession because After that, they were able to kind of gather themselves, call a play in the huddle, settle down, and then they were able to throw another pass. And this one needed to be tackled in bounds. If you're the Patriots, Chris Ivory can't catch this pass going towards the sidelines and have a missed tackle and allow him to get out of bounds, which is what happened. And so that was the play there that set them up in a position where you're like, okay, one more catch, and they're in field goal range, and they got that one more catch, and they got out of bounds. And so now they're sitting pretty at the 40-yard line with a chance to send Nick Folk out there for a 58-yard field goal. And I'm saying to myself, oh my God, I cannot believe the Jets are about, because Nick Folk can drill it from 58. I mean, I've seen him make, 57, 56-yard field goals. I don't know what his career high is, but this goes back to the Dallas days. I remember when Nick Folk had to kick a 50-plus yard field goal twice for a game winner. They called the first one, they called a timeout when, icing kickers were all the rage right when they were about to kick it, and the team went over and called the timeout. And so he had to go back out there and kick it again, and he nailed it from like 55 twice in a row on a Monday night. And so I'm thinking in my head, Nick Folk can drill this. He hadn't even missed it all season. So I'm thinking, oh my God, I cannot believe my Soul Survivor pick and my football pool pick is about to go down the drain. How I hate getting off to bad starts on Thursdays. That's the worst. So to see the Jets right here, and I said, look, man, the Jets have earned this victory. If they win this game, they earned it. The Patriots didn't throw it away. The Jets didn't luck into this. They earned this W. They played a hell of a ball game. So if they win, all I can do is tip my imaginary cap to the New York Jets because they went out and took this football game. And I thought that Bill Belichick was going to call a timeout and mess up. And he didn't. He just let it play out. And that's the way I like it. Don't call a timeout because you don't want to be the guy that calls the timeout and they miss. And then, or in this case, they block it. And then you give him another chance and then he drills it. So just let it happen. Whatever happens, happens. And luckily enough for the Patriots, Chris Jones was able to get his hands on the football, block the punt, and the New England Patriots survive a scare at home against the New York Jets, 27-25. What an exhilarating Thursday night football game it was. So I was able to come through on my Soul Survivor pick. It was not pretty. This is exactly why I stay away from family business right here, because I only got one heart. I only got one heart. And when games like this happen, my heart starts to try to beat through my chest. And so, I'm too young to be about to have heart attacks, especially when it doesn't involve my team. So this is exactly why I stay away from family business right here, because of situations like this. But I have to give credit where credit is due. The Jets were game in this football game. And Rex Ryan and his crew always come ready to play Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. And for some odd reason, they played them the best of any team in the league. And I can't understand for the life of me why they can't play this well against every opponent. The Jets defensively get after every team. They made Peyton Manning struggle last week. That wasn't an easy victory for the Denver Broncos. They struggled. And that's what this Jets defense, if they could just not turn it over defensively and they ran the football the way that I said they needed to, they did. The blueprint for winning was laid for the Jets last night. If they play that way, I swear they'll be one of the toughest teams in the AFC to deal with because that defense is good. And they're dealing with a ton of injuries. They got Antonio Allen at cornerback. He's really a safety, and he's been playing corner all season long, and they're still a really good defense. And the secondary is definitely the weak spot of this defense, and they're still a solid defensive unit. And so, man, what a game. If you're the Patriots, hey, you're going to have to win some games like that. All your games aren't going to be easy. They're not going to come to you like, that Sunday night massacre against the Cincinnati Bengals or even last week's win against the Bills. You're going to have to struggle for some of these W's. You know how it is, especially when it's family business. You just got to find a way to come up on the right end of these games, and you did. So that's a huge win for the Patriots. But you've got some things to clean up defensively. That was not pretty. And if this is what life without Gerard Mayo looks like, you are in some trouble because the Jets ran the football down your throat. And this was the first game that Geno Smith has had all season where he did not account for a turnover. As a matter of fact, the Jets as a team had their first game where they did not turn the football over at all. So this is a team that will turn it over on special teams. Geno Smith, we know, will turn it over. They will turn the football over, and they did not do that in this game, and that's why they had a chance. They ran it. Geno Smith was effective. He was efficient, and they simply gave themselves a chance by not self-destructing. And your end result, 27-25 victory for the Patriots. But, man, they had to work for it. That was a great game. Didn't expect it to be as close as it was, but I should have known better. It's family business. So we'll take a quick break. We'll come back, and we'll jump into the Pick'em Weekly for week number 7 in the National Football League.
A lot of exciting things happened in week number 6 of the National Football League. Some teams shot up the charts on the Power Grid. Some have taken a huge step back. Come check out all of the movement here in the Lab Room on the Power Grid.
Okay, welcome back to the program. I thank you for joining me here on this Friday edition of In the Lab Room. Let's jump into the Pick'em Weekly quickly. I'm not going to waste a lot of time here. I spent a lot of time on that Thursday night showcase, but it deserved it. So now let's talk about my picks. And before we can go on to week 7, let's talk about week 6 very quickly. I went 9-6 last week. I'm disappointed. I mean, to me, I should have easily had double figures last week. There were some games that I didn't see coming. I had confidence that the Redskins could pull one out. They did not. I didn't see the Seahawks game coming. Most of us did not, and that happened. So that was another loss. The Falcons let me down at home versus the Bears. That was another loss. So you can see how this thing kind of spiraled out of control, especially those second half games. I mean, things really fell apart in the second half for me. That was 3 losses in the second half. Not to mention I came into the second half with 3 losses as it was. So very disappointing to have, the games go the way that they did. I picked Buffalo to win at home against the Patriots. They weren't able to do so. So I had a couple of games that just didn't go the way that I expected them to. So there you have it. 9-6, or I guess you could say, 8-5 and 8-6-1, I guess, because of the tie with that Carolina game, which was wacky. So just a bad week, man. I just disappointed. And next week, I'm going to come with an overall mark so you know exactly where I stand as far as what I've done throughout the course of the season. So you'll know exactly what my total record is for the season. And this has to be one of the worst total records that I've ever had. Of course, I'm not under 500 or anything like that, but I'm not dominating the way that I normally do. And right now, I really need to turn it up. And I like my picks this week. Anytime I pick 4 or less road teams, I feel like I've got a heck of a sheet coming. Because it's when I go road heavy is when I normally get myself into trouble. Because in this league, the home team dominates. And in any given week, you'll usually find that, 3 or 4, maybe even 5 road teams may win, but never 6 or 7 or 8. Road teams don't dominate like that in a week. And there's some times where I'm giving out 7 or 8 road winners, and I'm like, there's no way these many road teams are going to win. But those are the teams that I think are going to win the game. I can't say, okay, I got to take away 2 road teams. I can't pick 8 road teams. No, those are the teams I think are going to win the game. But in all actuality, a couple of those teams are going to falter. You just don't know which 2, which 3, which 4. Because you can't have that many road winners in a given week. It just doesn't happen. So this week, I only got 3 road winners. So that right there makes me feel very comfortable with what I'm about to say to you in terms of picks. Let's jump into it quickly. Minnesota at Buffalo. The Vikings struggled last week, and the reason they struggled was because they went up against a team defensively that could get after the quarterback and make them pay. Well, the Buffalo Bills are similar in the sense, like the Detroit Lions, they can get after your quarterback, and if you make mistakes, they can make you pay. I expect the Bills to bounce back off of that very disappointing and lackluster defensive showing last week against the Patriots. Stop the run, force Teddy Bridgewater to beat you, keep him in the pocket, sack him, make him uncomfortable, make him make mistakes. Give me Buffalo at home to beat the Minnesota Vikings. You move to the next matchup, Atlanta at Baltimore. I've lost just about all faith in the Atlanta Falcons. I made that same comment last week against the Chicago Bears, and they won the football game. So with my luck, I'll say what I just said, and the Falcons will come out victorious on the road versus the Ravens, but I'm not banking on it. That team that I saw last week didn't even look competent offensively, and that's the one thing that they're supposed to be able to do each and every single week. We know the defense is an atrocity. We know that. That's a given. But the offense is supposed to show up, and they did not do that last week. So I have zero confidence in the Falcons. I'm taking the Ravens at home, and I'm moving on to the next game, Cleveland at Jacksonville. At some point, Jacksonville is going to beat someone. And this is a very winnable game at home. And when they do win, it's going to be at home. But I think it's going to be against a divisional opponent when it does happen, maybe a Tennessee or even a Houston in Jacksonville. But they can beat Cleveland. They sure can. But I'm not picking them to. Give me the Browns on the road to continue that. Look, if the Browns are serious about making some noise in the AFC North division and possibly threatening to make the postseason as a wild card or even a division winner, you can't lose to Jacksonville. I don't give a damn if it's at home or away. You cannot lose to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Thus, if you're serious and you want me to take you serious, then you need to win this game. So I'm picking you to win this game. Go out and get it done, Cleveland. I'm moving on to the next game, Carolina at Green Bay. I think the Green Bay Packers are playing some of the best football of anybody in the NFC, of course, you know, excluding the Cowboys and maybe even the Eagles. But look, they're right up there with the teams that are playing some of the best football in the NFC conference right now. And so this Carolina Panthers team, though, they're fearless. They'll go on the road. They'll do what they did last week and give you everything you're looking for, give you a serious run for your money. I don't think they're going to win this game necessarily, but it wouldn't surprise me if that, you know, late in this ball game, the Panthers are right there with a chance to win. They're playing that kind of football, but I think the Packers are on another level. This is the Packers team that I was expecting to show up week one and start the season off like gangbusters. Not this Packers team that was struggling and you really didn't know who they were, didn't have an identity. Eddie Lacy is starting to run the football. The receivers are starting to heat up, and defensively they're starting to generate turnovers. I don't know how healthy those corners are. That's really a key thing for them because both of their starting corners were gone by the end of that Dolphins game. If you can assure me that Tramon Williams and Sam Shields are playing in this game, I definitely am taking the Packers. Whether they play or not, I'm still taking the Packers anyway. But that could be the deciding factor in this game. If those guys are out, and you got to tell me that I got to depend on Bush and Casey Hayward. Cam might have a field day. Either way, I'm taking the Green Bay Packers. They're at home. I expect them to be able to get a win against this Panthers football team. But the Panthers are a tricky club. You move on to the next game, Miami at Chicago. I hate picking the Bears. I really do. The Bears make me sick to my stomach because every time I pick them, they lose. I pick against them, they win. So this is probably a bad omen for the Bears, and they haven't won all year at home. They're due for a home victory. They are. And I feel like they should be able to get this one, but my gut tells me that I'm going to pick the Bears, and I am picking the Bears in this game, and they're going to let me down. I hope that's not the case because Tannehill will turn it over. He turned it over twice last week. Then he had a magnificent second half. I don't know which Tannehill is going to show up. The one that showed up in the first half and was an utter complete disaster, or the one in the second half that almost willed his team to a victory, was using his legs, was stepping up and manipulating the pocket. I mean, he looked like a totally different quarterback. I don't know which one. That's the problem I have with Ryan Tannehill and this Dolphins team. I don't know which team is showing up from week to week. Same thing with the Bears. I don't know. I'm going with the home team. Give me Chicago Bears. Cincinnati at Indianapolis. This is one of the best games of week number 7. Now, I said that to say this. Cincinnati has been struggling. Remember, they haven't won in 2 weeks. They got drubbed on Sunday Night Football coming off their bye week against the Patriots. And then they go home and blow it against the Carolina Panthers. And that was a tie. They didn't lose, but hell, it might as well be a loss. And so now you're asking them to go up to Indy against a team that is red hot, winners of 4 consecutive games. I don't know if this is a gettable game for them or not. I'm going with the home team. I'm going with Andrew Luck. You're telling me that young, fresh, and green and that toe injury isn't ready to go yet? I'm telling you, you're not winning in Indy then. Give me the Indianapolis Colts in this football game. the Rams, if they were getting pressure on the quarterback, could easily steal this game. If it's the same Rams that have one sack to their name, then they don't stand a chance in this game. I just don't see them being able. And Seattle is pissed right now. They are fuming. They are fuming. They're steamed after what happened to them in their own house last week against the Cowboys. Somebody's got to take the wrath of that loss from last week. And it just turns out to have to be the St. Louis Rams. Even though it's on the road and the Rams with Austin Davis have been in every single ball game, I'm still taking the Seattle Seahawks in this football game to bounce back after last week's defeat at the hand. And really, they were dominating that game to the Dallas Cowboys. So you move on to the next game, Tennessee at Washington. This is the last stand for the Redskins. To me, they're not a good football team right now. They don't have an identity. They don't know who they are. But neither do the Tennessee Titans. The only difference is the Tennessee Titans were able to get the Kansas City Chiefs in week 1 when they didn't have Dwayne Bowe and they struggled offensively. They snuck them. Hey, good for you. And then they got to play the Jaguars. Well, guess what? Redskins got to play the Jaguars and they beat them as well. So to me, it's two bad teams. You flip a coin, heads is Redskins, tails it's Tennessee Titans. I'm taking the Redskins because they're at home. If this game were in Tennessee, I'd take the Titans. It's that simple. I don't think either one of these teams are any good. And so the team at home gets the upper hand. Give me the Redskins in this football game. So you go on to the next matchup. Kansas City Chiefs at the San Diego Superchargers in a huge AFC West matchup. Huge for two reasons. One, the Kansas City Chiefs don't want to fall behind any more than they already are in this division. Sitting right now at 2-3 on the season, they want to get back to 500. And if they're going to make any hay in this division, they're going to have to beat a team like the San Diego Chargers. You look at it from the flip side, Chargers have a huge, a gigantic matchup at Denver next week on Thursday Night Football, but you can't look past the Kansas City Chiefs to get there. So if they're going to win this division, they know they're going to have to go through the Denver Broncos. But you can't get to the Broncos unless you beat the Kansas City Chiefs first. You want to go into that game with all the momentum in the world, and so it's a huge game for both teams. The better team here is the San Diego Chargers, but the Kansas City Chiefs do know these guys. It is family business, and they're coming off of a bye. Wouldn't surprise me in the least if the Kansas City Chiefs were able to fight tooth and nail with this Chargers team and pull it out at the end. But I'm not going in that direction. Give me the Chargers, who are playing red-hot football. Until someone knocks these guys off, I need proof. Give me the San Diego Chargers at home to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. So you move on to the next matchup. New York Football Giants, the G-Men, taking on the Dallas Cowboys in Big D. Now look, the Giants were drubbed last week at Philadelphia. In the process, they lose Victor Cruz. I don't think Rashad Jennings is coming back from his injury. I just don't like their chances of traveling into Dallas, where they've had a lot of success over the years, and getting a W versus one of the hottest teams, not just in the NFC, not just in the NFC East, but in the entire National Football League. This could easily be a letdown game for the Cowboys. After the adrenaline rush of what they did last week in Seattle, they could come home thinking that the Giants are going to lay down for them, lay an egg, and have the Giants upset them. I don't see it happening. However, give me the Cowboys at home to move their record to 6-1 on the season. Arizona at Oakland. This is the money, yeah. Money, yeah. Let's get it. Money game of the week. And normally on money games of the week, I go with the team that you don't expect to win, or, as in the case of this game, it's a toss-up game. And you say, toss-up game? What are you talking about? You're talking about the 4-1 Arizona Cardinals taking on the 0-5 Oakland Raiders. How is this a toss-up game? Hey, wait a minute. The Raiders are playing better football. Again, small sample size, one game. I know. Relax, okay? However, this is a team playing with a lot of confidence right now. And if they play close, anywhere near close to what they did last week, and the Cardinals play anywhere near close to what they played last week against the Redskins, the Raiders will win this game. The Cardinals didn't look sharp at all last week. In fact, had the Redskins been a comparable team, they win that football game. If Derek Carr can do anything remotely close to what he did last week, if they can stay relatively balanced, and again, the Cardinals are one of the better run defenses in the league, but again, you still have to run it. If they can find a way to avoid the turnovers and maybe get one from Carson Palmer, who will share. Carson Palmer threw the football directly to Brian Orakpo last week. He will share the football. And don't talk to me about the Cardinals are the only team in the NFL without an interception. If guys can catch, you'd have interceptions right now. So miss me with that. Just know that if the Raiders show up, play the kind of football they played last week, they could win this game. But, you know the but was coming, but they're still the Raiders. And they're 0-5 for a reason. And I'm not picking the Raiders until they win. So I'm going with the Arizona Cardinals on the road to improve to 5-1 on the season. But it would not surprise me in the least if the Oakland Raiders jumped up and bit a very vulnerable Arizona Cardinals football team. I'm taking the Cardinals though. You move on to Sunday Night Football. San Francisco 49ers against the Denver Broncos. Peyton Manning looking to set history by breaking Brett Favre's all-time touchdown passes record for a career. And I fully expect him to do it in this game. And I have this as my game of the week for good reason. You can understand why. 4-2 49ers, 4-2 Denver Broncos. So you understand why, or excuse me, 4-1 Denver Broncos. They had their bye week already. So you understand why this is the game of the week. No Patrick Willis, no Navarro Bowman, no Alden Smith, yada, yada, yada. There's too many defensive deficiencies when you take Patrick Willis out of it. I mean, how many guys can, and I know Chris Borland had a solid game against the Rams, but how many replacements can you put in and expect to still play at maximum efficiency? At some point, there is a drop-off, and this week you're not playing against Austin Davis and the St. Louis Rams. So you can't expect Chris Borland, a rookie, to come in and have a chess match with Peyton Manning, do you? You better not. I hope that's not what you're banking on, because if it is, you can go ahead and watch that check bounce if that's what you're banking on. So the way I see it, if they don't run the football, first of all, because this whole Colin Kaepernick throwing the football more than you're running the football thing, if you're doing that in this game, then you're asking for a loss. You're begging for a loss, which is probably coming anyway because your defense is going to be at a stark disadvantage with all the injuries and missing pieces. In my mind, Denver should win this game. I don't expect it to be easy despite all of the guys that are missing, but I don't trust the San Francisco 49ers because I don't know what they're doing offensively. They don't have an identity right now. They don't seem to understand that their bread is buttered with the ball being ran on the ground and then feeding off of that and using play action fake and allowing Colin Kaepernick to get out of the pocket. But whatever, I'm not going to sit here and try to give them a game plan when they don't want to take it. I'm taking the Denver Broncos in the game of the week to get it done on Sunday Night Football and set up a huge Thursday Night Football matchup in Week 8 against the San Diego Chargers with first place on the line. So you go to Monday Night Football, Houston Texans on the road against the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is an ugly game. Not because it's not going to be entertaining, not because these teams aren't evenly matched. I mean, both of these teams are 3-3. It's an ugly game because the Pittsburgh Steelers are playing bad football right now, whether it's penalties or it's turnovers or they can't get in the end zone, whatever. They pick a different thing every week to be its Achilles heel. So it's not like they got one thing that just stands out above the rest. They do everything, and it seems like they pick one thing each week to have it bite them in their rear end. One week it's penalties, the next week it's turnovers, the next week they can't get in the end zone, whatever. They're a team that I don't trust. Then you got the Houston Texans, and their quarterback is Ryan Fitzpatrick, and I hate to beat this horse that has been dead before the season started, but yes, Ryan Fitzpatrick is your quarterback, and if the game's on the line, I don't trust him. You had a chance to beat the Cowboys with the game on the line. You couldn't get it done. You had a chance to beat the Indianapolis Colts with the game on the line. You couldn't get it done. So, and it wasn't all his fault. But, again, the great quarterbacks in this league, they find a way to get it done. With the game on the line, they find a way to get it done. And so, I don't trust the Houston Texans on the road. I don't trust the Steelers. If I I would just pass. I would say pass. But I can't. So I'll take the home team, much like I did with the Redskins game. When it's a game like this, two evenly matched teams, and you really don't have you really don't have something that you feel like is a definite in the game, which I don't. You just go with the home team. So I'm going with the Steelers. May regret that one, may not. Who knows? We will see. But I feel really good about those picks. I really do. Because there's only 3 roadies. 3 road teams. Cleveland, Arizona, and Seattle. That's it. Everybody else is a home winner. And I feel good about that. I fully expect in a week where there's 15 games to only lose 2 games. Maximum. That's it. I've never went perfect on my program. Wouldn't be surprised if this is the first time I go perfect though. Wouldn't be surprised at all. That's how good I feel about these picks. Somebody's going to let me down, whether it's the Bears or the Ravens or Detroit. Somebody's going to let me down. Somebody is going to let me down. Did I talk about that game? I don't recall talking about New Orleans at Detroit. Well, let's talk about that one quickly. I think I skipped over that one. But Detroit is a team that scares me because this defense is really good, first of all. I mean, they're legit this season. And I don't think that's going to let up. I think they're going to be one of the better defenses all season long. With that said, though, this offense looks really ordinary, especially without the services of Heavens, the Megatron. And looking at these guys, they're just ordinary people. They're just ordinary people. We don't know which way to go, especially in this game. Because they're taking on the New Orleans Saints. And they're just ordinary people. Maybe they should take it slow. Because they're on the road and they don't win on the road. Take it slow. Oh, oh. This time I'll take it slow. Take it slow. Oh, no, no. I'm not picking an oh. Give me Detroit in this game. Because I don't trust them on the road. And Detroit plays some good defense. The thing that scares me in this game, and if there's one game that I think I could lose this week, it's this one right here. Because the Saints are coming off of a bye week. And the Detroit Lions just seem like a team that will let you down at home. Just like they did in that Buffalo game. I don't know what's going to happen. But I'm going with the home team. Give me the Detroit Lions. And so, those are my picks. This episode ran long. My goodness, I am sorry. I apologize for that. But a lot of good football last night. And so, that kind of was responsible for the lengthy episode. But nonetheless, we got it done. So, those are my picks for week number 7. I feel good about them. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the lab room. Come back and join me next week. We'll break down all the games. We'll do it all over again. We'll have fun like we always do. Enjoy the college football. Hey, Florida State, Notre Dame, my Fighting Irish got a chance. They need to suspend Jameis Winston. Can I get a break? He was signing autographs just like Gurley was. Can I get a break? Nah, I don't want a break. I don't want to show up in the playoffs and get blown out like we did last time when we showed up in the national championship and got ambushed by Alabama. If we're going to get there, I want to get there the right way. I want them to play. If you can beat them, great. If you can't, fine, whatever. So, enjoy the college football. Enjoy the NFL action. And then we'll come back next week, talk about it, break it all down, and do it all over again. Have a great weekend. I will see you next week.
In the lab room.